Hello everyone, this is Mustafa Helmi from Teach Now, Model 11, and I'm with Miss Lindy from AIS. She's a learning support teacher at AIS West Campus in Egypt, and this unit is about leadership. This is Unit 11, and what we have is, so one of the case studies that we have is a student in grade 5. He's been, like, I've had him in the previous year, and this year as well. He's having the same problem. He's overweighted, and the students think that they're losing every game or every competition because of him, because he's overweighted, he's slow, he can't connect with the kids well, and they always have these arguments with him a lot, that he's the worst person. And so this student has tried to improve it, and he went to the gym and began to work out, began to follow a diet plan, and he lost weight, a lot of weight. He's getting in really good shape. But again, they had this game. It was like a relay race, and one of the other students, he was overweighted, and he won him, or he beat him in that competition. So he came to me and to the other coach, and he was crying. He was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm working out, I'm going to the gym, I'm having a diet plan, and even this person doesn't do any of what I'm doing, and I still can't win anything. And he's in almost every class, he's crying about this. Like, he always has to have a situation either with one of the students or with himself, feeling that he just can't be like any of the other players. He's not on the same performance, and he's always feeling like he's not confident about his skills or abilities at all. So in this case, what do you suggest to do to put him in a leadership position and not have him broken down?
Right. I think that's a really good approach, actually, is to give him a leadership role, because then the kids see him in a different way than what they're seeing him now. They're seeing him as weak, they're seeing him as fat, they're seeing him as all these things. Even though he's overcome that, they still have that issue because he's still not winning in their books. So if you make him a leader and give him tasks to do, or just little things that he can demonstrate the skills that he does have, so you're highlighting the things that he really can do well, then that will help him build up his self-esteem as well. Because right now he's looking at it as, I can't do this, I can't do that. But we need to be looking, and he needs to learn to look at the things he can do instead. So, just like a classroom, they say to build on a child's strengths to help their weaknesses. So by building on something that he can do well, it may overcome those weaknesses. So I'm not sure what he can do well as far as physical activity, but if he's an organized person, you could get him doing some charting for some of the events that they're doing, or if he's good at art, you can get him to do some posters about physical education, just something to highlight his skills that he has and get the kids to think that he's cool, because we can highlight definitely what a child can do well. The other thing, just by what you said, I don't know the child, so my approach to that would be, what is the bar that has been set? How is this child feeling he's not adequate enough? Is there an unwritten law about what should be done in PE, or is there things that this child, are we too hard on ourselves? I know we are. Most of us are. We want to be the best, and we compare ourselves to other people, but everyone is different. So even though he's lost weight and he's, working out, he's clearly trying to make good choices for him. But maybe he's just not a good athlete. He's just not strong in that area, and that's something that he may never be able to do, no matter how thin he gets or how, I remember in high school, I played volleyball on a volleyball team, and some of the girls were heavier girls, and they were amazing athletes, and yet they were heavy. But it's whatever their stamina is, whatever their, their endurance, their muscle tone. It just because someone appears heavy doesn't mean that they're not muscular in some way. So then there's the weak, little, thin, we all know the type, these little thin girls that are incapable of doing many things because they don't have the muscle mass. They may look skinny, they may look pretty, but So comparing body types is a really tough issue.
Exactly.
And it's something that many kids struggle with, more girls, again, than boys. But obviously he's feeling he wants to be an athlete. Maybe is that drive coming from home? Maybe mom and dad want him to be an athlete, And so that's what we have to look at. How can we help this kid build up his self-esteem? But like you said, I really think that by giving him a leadership role, something that he can do, even if it's not a physical endurance thing, and it's something that he can add to it, maybe, I don't know, it's hard to come up with something off the cuff, but I'm looking at, when they're picking him for teams, do you let the kids pick their own teams?
I let them pick their own teams, and when I want to show an example of a drill or something, I pick him. Or if I let him be team captain and pick students, it's always the first impression from the students that break him down. Once I say, okay, I want Yusuf, you're going to demonstrate this drill for us. So all the kids go, oh, Yusuf. So once they do that, it breaks them down. But I like the point that you said that we can add more leadership from a different sort of like art and let him do posters.
Yeah, or something about, if you're having, I don't know if they change for, if there's any kind of teams he's involved in or anything, but he could be in charge of making sure all of the uniforms end up being put back. Or something that gives him a leadership role that's different than some of the other kids. I don't know, what grade is he in?
He's in grade 5.
Okay, so I was thinking like in an early primary situation, you know how we get the water bottles brought in? I mean, this type of child, if he was in an early primary setting, could be responsible for putting all the water bottles into a bin and making sure they get put where they need to go. Just something to make him feel like he's part of the class without being ridiculed or... I'm not sure. I was
something
thinking,
he can manage.
Yeah, something that he's good at. Like, find out what he likes. And often even just playing games is something to do with what he likes. Like, if the kid likes spaceships, then play a game, in the gym where there's, I'm trying to think of the one, it's like... where you have the captain of the ship and you have all this. Well, I played it one time because in Canada we teach our own PE. We don't have PE teachers. So we do our own. So we're always coming up with things. And I tried to do it cross-curricular and find things that the kids liked as well. So we were doing space. So then I did this thing where they did the spaceship, and then they had to do like so many jumping jacks if there was a blast-off card, or just different activities. Like, I know it takes more planning, but if you can find out what his interests are and maybe come up with a game, Google it, come up with some ideas about games that can use those concepts, because if he's really interested, you never know, he may be very good at a task that other kids wouldn't even think of doing because it's something that interests him. And then it's his time to shine. The other thing is, I don't encourage letting them pick their own teams. Do something like popsicle sticks, where you have all their names on a popsicle stick and you just draw names. This is A team, this is B team, and you just draw their names. And you don't allow, there's no tolerance at all for bullying or making comments. If a child makes a comment, oh, Yusuf, then that child needs to sit out for 5 minutes. Okay, that's not acceptable in this class, and you need to sit out. You can do stuff like clock buddies, where you get them to sit in a circle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and wherever their time is, okay, 1 and 3, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock are partners, where you go. 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock are partners, where you go. And that way they can't decide where like, how when the old-fashioned way was always numbering 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Exactly.
Well, then the kids stack themselves in the line now, they're very smart, and so I don't do that anymore. You kind of be one step ahead of them, but really discourage, have zero tolerance for these other comments that are being made, because it is breaking him down. And we really want to see all kids be successful. And unfortunately, it sounds like he wants to be athletic. It sounds like he's trying really hard, but he's coming up against a wall of these other kids more than anything, more than himself. And then he gets discouraged. So if we can just build him up in other ways. I'm not sure offhand.
I like the idea how we can, instead of making them pick the teams, that's a really good idea. And even instead of just going 1, 2, or boy, girl. Yeah. That's a really good idea. And there is this, like when I was talking to him last time, I was asking, okay, what are sports are you doing more than just going to the weight room? He said, okay, right now I'm going to MMA practice, and because I'm getting my anger out on it, in it, and I have this feeling right now that he's going to get the anger out on one of the students.
Yeah.
So I talked to him. I said, okay, how about this? You are now practicing MMA. How many people here are practicing MMA? And he said, no. I said, okay, that's a very good thing. Now you're doing something different than that.
Yeah.
And what I want you to do is, after, let's say, 3 weeks of training, how about you record a video of your training, how you're training with your coach, and then we can show that for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I like that.
So this is...
I like that.
Do you think that particular sport, MMA, just having that to the student to see him doing this?
Absolutely. Or another way that you could do it is have certain students that do certain sports have a little time for them to highlight what they can do, maybe a few moves, you know, and so that they won't monopolize your class and take over the whole thing. Limit it to say 3. Each one of you that does an outside sport, maybe you do taekwondo, maybe you do yoga for the girl, whatever it is. You get 3 moves that you can share with us. And maybe do that not for a whole class because the kids would get bored doing it, but do it, you know, maybe make that as part of your starter or the end of your PE. Like allow it a time where they can highlight. So maybe each week have 2 people that can highlight 3 moves from their chosen sport. And so they demonstrate it, and then the rest of the kids can try it. And so that way, he'll be included in that. He won't be the only one, so it won't look like you're centering him out, because a lot of kids like this don't like to be centered out as well.
Exactly.
So this way they all get to do it. Don't put him right at the beginning. Put him kind of in the middle of the groups, and you let them know ahead of time, okay, this is what we're going to do, and lots of you are doing these amazing sports away from school, and we want you to be the expert in that area and show us what you've learned. And so then just allow them, so whichever you feel, maybe at the end of a class it might be better. You know, it'll get them to wind down as well.
Exactly.
You know, but yeah, totally discourage those kids from putting him down though. Like try to really be on top of that, because I mean we do have bullying issues that we're trying to do, and PE unfortunately is a place where it often happens too. And in the change rooms we see stuff happening, and make sure that he's not being ridiculed in the change room, or you know, you just kind of be kind of in tune to what's happening, and because sometimes we think it's not happening, and then you know whatever we do to build up that child, it just keeps getting knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. And so if we can continue to kind of monitor the situation, you know, is there a buddy that he has in the class that you could encourage him to do some partner things with?
No one wants to.
No one. Well, that's sad, isn't it? Well, I'm not sure. I just think by making him be partners and not allowing them to say, oh, I don't want to be his partner, you know? Like I remember in high school myself, we had to do dance. And they brought in another class. We had girls' PE separate from the boys. And so they brought in the boys to dance with us. And I remember us girls thinking, oh, we don't want to dance with those. But in the end, once we let go of all of that, because we were told, you don't say anything, you just do it. And in the end, we all had fun.
Exactly.
We had some laughs, we had good time. Once we let that go, you know, and that's the thing. How do you make them let it go? You just encourage it and just... You know, and just talk to them and just say, I have 0 tolerance for what's happening in here. And don't mention his name, but just say, you know, there are some kids in this class that are constantly being put down, and it's not acceptable. And if I hear you doing it, you will sit out. And most kids, especially boys, do not want to miss PE.
Exactly.
So the most effective thing you can do is put them out for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
You know, don't leave them out the whole game because they forget why they're sitting there. You know, it's more effective if you do it. The rule of thumb, even in the classroom, is getting them to stand at the back of the room or sit in the back of the room for 1 minute for every year of their age. So if they're 6 years old, then they sit out for 6 minutes. You know, and so that way they don't forget why you've put them there.
Exactly.
You know, it's more effective. So that would be a good practice, is to just stop the side chatter and just encourage them to be, you know, we're doing that as a school. We're trying to fill a bucket of friendship. We're doing all these things that really should be implemented even into the PE program.
Great. So what we can start with, first, I can check what he likes other than sports, and let it be relative to the sports. Like, for example, if he likes art, then he'll do the posters.
Right, sure. Or tie it in somehow, that he can do something of interest. Maybe find some games related to, if he loves race cars, see if you can find some games based around race cars, some interactive things. There's all kinds of different websites that you can use. OFIA is one in Ontario, where I'm from, that have tons of resources available, games based on curriculum, all kinds of things, So if you Google some of that and say, PE games based on this interest, you'd be surprised what would come up. And then it's his time to shine because he likes it. And maybe he wouldn't even focus on the comments those other kids are making because he's enjoying. Right now, he's not engaged because it's bothering him what they're saying. So if you can get him to kind of forget about what they're saying and get engaged in something that he likes, so that's a different approach in itself, is get him engaged. Don't worry about what the others are doing and just try to focus on getting him moving, because if he is enjoying himself and having fun, playing dodgeball, whatever he's doing that he likes, he will forget about those comments. But because right now he's not engaged, he's worried, he's self-confident, self-conscious about what's happening, he's feeling let down, so he's not getting engaged. He's just sitting there or being afraid to see, maybe they're going to comment, so just try to work on getting him actively involved. But any way that you can make him shine without drawing attention to him, because that doesn't help either. They're going to go, oh, he needs the teacher to help him. So, you really need to find ways to get him to shine without them noticing. It's kind of a manipulation in itself, but it does work when we just need to be conscious of that we're not making him looking like you're trying to make him shine. You want to do it in a way that it happens naturally. Yeah.
Great. So what I think is we can do the 4 things that we've talked about. Let him find his own, discover what he really likes and get involved. Not let him, or not let any of the students pick teams, and just let it be picked in a different type of way. The sports, expert sports day, that will be one. And I think these 3.
I think there was zero tolerance also, showing zero tolerance for any of the comments and things, like having a basically a punishment of sitting out, you make a comment, you go.
Yeah, because I was actually putting them out for the class if they...
but that's not an effective practice, because it's been proven that the kids, even in a classroom, then the kids start peeling the paper off the wall, they do anything because they tend to forget why you've even put them there.
Exactly.
Right? So if it's a short period of time, and the rule of thumb is 1 minute per age, right? And that is most effective, because there's still, when you pull them away from there, they still remember why they were there. And then you can follow that up later. In private, talk to those kids and say, do you know why you were put out? And be calm about it. Don't ever be shouting at them or anything, because you're not going to be able to make an impact on them either. You just want to explain to them that, you've asked them to show respect and they're not. So if they can't, then you will continue to put them out every single time, and it'll be consistent. If they come back in the game for 5 minutes and they do it again, okay, away you go. You obviously haven't learned. And make them sit out again. But don't ever leave them out for the whole time, because then they start fooling around and they don't even, you see them sliding on the floor, you see them, bouncing around or going and getting a drink.
Because they get bored.
Yeah, and they don't, it's forgotten now why they're even there. They're just thinking, I'm missing out, but they don't understand why. It puts more of an impact on them if it's a short time, something for them to think about. But always go back to them with follow-up and say, do you know why you were put out? And see if they can answer you. If they can't, then obviously they haven't learned, and then you need to try it again. But always be calm about it. Be respectful to them. Don't be shouting at them or belittling them, because sometimes they don't even know. It's a habit. It's a habit to pick on somebody. So just be calm and just say, look, I don't appreciate it. I don't think it's nice. Would you like somebody to be talking to you like that? And just say it's not fair.
Exactly.
You want everybody in your class to be respectful of each other, mutual respect amongst everybody. You want everybody to feel safe and secure in your PE program, and it's not happening right now, and it's because of the things that they're saying, and just put it to them. Get them to take ownership for what they're doing, and hopefully that'll fix some of the problems.
No, I think these strategies that you just mentioned, I believe is going to work well. because it's different than what I'm using, and I'm just thinking about it with these kids, with what I know about them. I believe it will work really well with them. So
I hope so.
Hopefully it will work.
But like I said, I'm not a PE teacher. I have taught PE in the past because we have to teach everything in Canada. We don't have specialists other than French. Everything else is done by the classroom teachers. And so, you learn to adapt to these things. But being away from that system for 7 years now, I haven't been in the PE program other than coaching, and I have the same approach to coaching as this. You don't be, if the coach is talking, you don't talk.
Exactly.
You show respect, and the same with PE. If you're explaining a game and they're already making comments about not wanting to be with, then that's inappropriate as well.
Exactly.
You stop it. You stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Ms.
Oh, you're welcome.
for your time, and hopefully all these strategies will work. And thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you next week.